I'm about halfway through my 7.3 Powerstroke turbo rebuild, and I thought I would post a video of what I've done so far, so people that decide to do this project, they can be a little more prepared. A lot of my downtime, honestly, is just I spent a lot of time cleaning parts. Everything was just covered in oil, the motor, everything from where the turbo was leaking, and I'm just waiting on parts. So after I started tearing it apart, I realized, hey, I should probably get some additional parts, and some of the stuff I didn't anticipate. So, but it's not a big deal. I mean, I've been ordering all my parts through Riff Raff Diesel. They seem to have just about every part you can conceivably want. You can tell I got all these parts cleaned up, and there's a lot of videos out there to show how to take all this stuff apart. You can watch that stuff. That's really not the intent of this video. Just kind of show you where I'm at. I'm halfway. Got the downpipes all cleaned up, and it was a job, let me tell you. And the valley of the motor. Here's the turbo pedestal. Pretty oily. It was leaking at the base of the turbo, and I had ordered the clamp at the back of the turbo, but I ended up taking the downpipe clamp off also, and these things just fusion weld the exhaust, whatever. So it was a job. I had to to tell you the trick to getting those off is to take a short flathead screwdriver, get up behind it and get underneath there and pop it out. I mean, you could pull on that all day. I pulled on the turbo like for a good couple hours trying to get that thing out, and then the best thing was just to put a screwdriver behind it and pop it out. So I had a lot of trouble with this bracket clamp, whatever, behind the turbo. That was a bitch. And this one too. Those are going to be tough getting those out. Here's what the new part looks like. Just some Riff Raff Diesel. This is for the back of the turbo. I'm waiting on a part for the downpipe clamp. We've got all the parts for the turbo rebuild, all new bolts, and the 360-degree thrust washer. Got all this new bolts. That's important. These are bolts for the turbo pedestal. Got new bolts for that. That goes inside the turbo. I got new boots. These are intercooler boots. These come from Riff Raff Diesel. We got them in different colors or whatever you want. And these ones go the motor here. These ones go right there, and they get pretty maxed out. Couple things. You'll see I got my wiring harness taken apart. I noticed that the pigtails from my glow plug are roached out. You see the bare wire. So this is a good time. Again, another part I'm waiting on. I found those on eBay. Go ahead and replace both and put the wiring harness back together. See, I got the valley. I don't know if you can see that, but got the valley all cleaned out. All good to go. Yeah. There's the downpipes, and those things are just junk, so I'm going to replace those. That was another part I was waiting on. Back up here a little bit. So you can see, this is got some stainless steel ones. These are heavy duty. And I had all this bead blasted from my machine shop to get all the oil and stuff off. I wanted to paint it. I painted this with high temperature paint. Let me see, better view of that. That's a VHT paint, 2000-degree paint. I got all that painted. This goes to the downpipes. This was cast. This is the Banks power elbow. Went ahead and painted that, the turbo, and this part inside the turbo. I went ahead and painted that. Get that all ready to go. The turbo housing itself was bead blasted. That's aluminum. I don't have to touch that. The thing looks pretty good. So I'll probably once I get this cleaned up, I'll probably paint this again. Take all the stuff off and paint it. But the project's gonna go together. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention. I'm waiting on where's that at? A new wastegate. Here's a wastegate, and I kind of didn't really know if I wanted to replace this one or not. And I tell you, once I took the turbo apart, and I got about 300,000 miles on my truck. Everything was good inside, so I didn't feel, you know, putting a wastegate with a tighter spring to hold this wastegate closed a little longer, gives you a little better performance. There's a lot of people put different wheels on there, and a little advice on that. You can see, you see these grind marks on the back. This was the stock wheel, and they do this for a reason, because it's got to be balanced. Now, one thing, I don't know if you can see this tick mark. I don't know if you can see that, but before I took this off, this shaft is completely balanced. They balance this thing, and you can even see some grind marks on the back of the wheel. I mean, this is a, you know, it's really balanced completely. And so I marked the end of the, I don't know if you could see that. I marked, while the whole thing was together, I marked, there's a mark on the end of the shaft, and then there's a mark here, reference mark, and then I measured how much the thread was sticking out of there. So when I go to put this all back together, I'll have the exact same amount of thread sticking out, and the marks will be lined up, and the wheel and everything will be completely balanced. You'll see, like, I think Banks has a quick turbo. They just slap a wheel on there. Well, you're going to have problems if you just, you know, if you do that, that's fine, but you still need to take, if you're going to change the wheel out, I guess my point is, if you're going to change the wheel out, you need to take these components right here and send them to a turbo shop and have them rebalanced again with the reference marks. I didn't want to do that. I didn't like the sound of the Wicked wheel. I mean, that would just drive me crazy, and performance really isn't my big thing. I just want to get everything back together and running, functional. So I'm going to get my workbench all cleaned off here and put some paper down with clean hands and get this whole turbo, everything put together. There's a lot of videos online. One other thing I'm thinking about it. The bolts that go, they're in the pile somewhere over there, but the bolts that, these torque to yield bolts, you're going to want to replace those. I went ahead and ordered those. I wasn't even thinking. Like I said, it's just a lot of just making sure you have all the right parts and everything. I'll tell you what, once I start getting some of this stuff together, I'll go ahead and post another video. I'll link these videos again. I did one on my high pressure oil pump. Hopefully this video on my turbo rebuild will help everybody. So I'll tell you what, it's early Sunday morning, and we're going to go out to eat, and I'll tackle this project later on. See ya.